Everybody's stressed, right? What's the stress about? Let me tell you what stress is, because most people don't even know what the true definition of stress really is. Hello, my name is Dr. Buzz Mingin. I'm a certified integrative health practitioner, and I specialize in stress. Working with some of the world's sickest, most compromised people, high performers to the person next door, I know stress because stress will cause havoc on your brain and your body. Let me share my definition of stress with you. Stress is your brain and body's interpretation that there is a threat. Once the threat is perceived, and keep in mind, perception is reality, the body then sends a signal to your adrenal glands of your endocrine system to then send off a large surge of sugar. The sugar boosts through your bloodstream, giving you the strength in order to manage the threat. What is very unique about stress, as much as everyone can relate to the word stress, everyone, I'm sure, could say one day in their life they were stressed. People are actually stressed about becoming stressed, and people are stressed out and worn out because they've been so stressed. So with that in mind, that means your body is interpreting that there's a threat. If that threat is consistent, it is systemic and ongoing, people live in a chronic, vicious cycle of stress. As a clinician, I manage these pieces. And in doing that, I have all these great tools and interventions that teach people not only how to prevent the stress, but how to restore their brains and their bodies from the stress that has been causing harm and threat to their ability to be well, resilient, and immune. Let me share with you a couple quick details about stress. A, if a person perceives a situation as being stressful, then it's stressful to them. You don't want to argue with a person about how they shouldn't be perceiving something so stressful when that's the way their body or their brain is perceiving it. It's stressful to them. Everyone perceives things differently. Number two, once the perception is made, the body wants to respond. And it doesn't really respond, it actually reacts. And for people who are really stressed out, the body will overreact, which means their behavior is not proportionate to the perceived threat. Or what we see from the outside is their behavior is not proportionate to what we perceive on the outside as the perceived threat. And you'll find yourself commonly saying, "Why are you so stressed out? Hey man, you know what the problem is? You're just way too stressed." Or "You need to take a chill for a minute." Or "What's bothering you so much? I mean, how bad could this be?" When a person perceives that threat, the body is going to react in a way that it feels is responsible in managing the threat. Sadly, we don't have a ton of control over the body's reaction of pushing sugar into the bloodstream in order to handle this threat. To the body and the brain, the threat could really be perceived as life-threatening. When we look at it from the outside, or we're watching somebody that we love, we know, even someone we're not familiar with, we may be saying to ourselves, "This guy's crazy. He's overreacting. What's wrong with him? Where's his judgment? Why is he so reckless?" Or, "Why would he do that? The consequences aren't worth it." But stress doesn't discriminate. We all feel it. Could you imagine being a professional athlete and there's very few seconds left on the clock, and you have to make the deciding win, the deciding shot, the deciding run, the deciding throw that is going to determine the outcome of this game? All the pressure that is perceived by that athlete is considered a threat. The world's greatest athletes do not perceive that threat as maybe being as threatening, or they perceive the threat as threatening, but they have a response versus a reaction to the perceived threat. So what do we do about this? Let's just be honest with each other. We're all going to experience it. It's going to go on for a lifetime. And as you get older, your reactions can actually get worse. Your body and your brain start to deteriorate when you get older. As you get weathered down, your frustration tolerance becomes minimal. And lastly, the triggers that are unresolved for you that you perceive as threats can get worse over time unless you resolve. Use my different interventions in order. First, understand that there is a perceived threat and it is interfering with your ability to function. Once the perceived threat is identified, you then can come to the realization that this thing is not only perceived, but this is what is activating these unnecessary reactions. Number 2, what category is that perceived threat in? Is it anatomical? Is it psychological? Is it social? Is it spiritual? Is it structural? Is it functional? Or lastly, is it occupational? So the first one being, is it more of your body, like you're suffering an illness, you have a chronic disease, you have diabetes, you're low in certain vitamins or minerals in your body. It could even be as much as you had an injury from a long time ago that the symptoms are continuing to prevail, or even to the last facet that I was sharing with you, which is occupational. Is it your job? Is it, you don't like your job? The job is too much, it's too hard, it's too long, it's not paying enough. Or your job is just a 3-hour drive and it's not your job, it's the drive to your job. So you really have to think about, what is the perceived threat? And if it's your drive to your job, is it the length of the drive? Is it a volatile drive where people are getting angry on the road? Is it the traffic? Is it how much the tolls are? We really got to put time in understanding where the perceived threats are coming from. Once you accomplish that, then we can go into sleep, diet, and exercise. You want to make sure that you have great value in your sleep, great value in your diet, and great value in your exercise. Restful sleep, quality diet, and lastly, a regular exercise regimen. Once we accomplish that, we can focus on supplements. My brand from my team, Dr. Buzz Naturals, is amazing because we have Brain and Body Super Fuel, which allows you to have great heart health, gut health, great brain health. But then in addition to that, by not only gaining energy with Super Fuel, we have what is a most amazing product for sleep called Night Recovery. And Night Recovery allows you to get restful sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, you have vitality to start your day. When you put all these components together, we're talking about a 360 wellness package that allows people to get full stress recovery. In closing, it's very important that all people manage all these details with structure. Structure creates sustainability, not just obtainability. We want people to be able to sustain over periods of time so you can restore your body. If you only do this now and then, or you do it for a week straight and then stop for a week, if you obtain but don't sustain, you will not get the results that you deserve. So because stress is really based on your body's perception of the threat and your endocrine's reaction to this by pushing sugar into your bloodstream, I want to share the importance that too much sugar in your bloodstream not only is not healthy for you, but it actually over a period of time can cause diabetes, it can cause inflammation, it can ruin your gut. You can have a lifelong chronic cycle of just being stressed out all the time. Increased sugar means stress, which means your brain can't repair itself in the middle of the night, which means you wake up tired, which then pushes more sugar in your bloodstream. And if you see where I'm going with this vicious cycle is exactly why people who are stressed will very commonly hang out with people who are stressed, which is why people who are stressed very commonly will live in stressful situations and never get out of them. Or people who are stressed and live in crisis create their own crisis or live in a lifestyle that is of chronic crisis, the vicious cycle. So chronic crises turns into chronic stress. There are 3 different layers of stress. There's the alarming, there's the tired and wired, and then there is the chronic and fatigued. When you're alarmed, you're elevated, you're reactive. When you're tired and wired, your brain is elevated where you want to sleep, but you stay in bed and your mind just keeps running and won't allow you to sleep. When you're chronically fatigued, your brain has had enough, it is depleted, it is shut down, and your adrenal system is actually depleted and has no vitality. So if you want to be a stress preventer, a stress recoverer, a stress restorer, or what would be greatest is a stress ambassador, I want you to practice these tools and understanding why you're perceiving stress, why the stress is real to you, how you're going to build a trajectory of structure with sustainability and implement it regularly to recover it, and lastly, how you're going to teach somebody the tools that I taught you so you can become a master, to not just a memorizer of these details, so you will forever conquer and prevent stress, and it can ultimately become your friend and not be your enemy. Go to Dr. Buzz Naturals, www.drbuzznaturals.com, and you can find out more about stress and stress recovery, more about our wonderful products that are not only non-GMO and organic and gluten-free, but are also third-party tested, which makes them one of a kind. And lastly, all the benefits you can get from our products that will help you develop a stress-free lifestyle.